Who is to say just how far off the beaten path one must wander before finding a monument to spinach? Main Street, Crystal City, Texas, it seems, has become a must-see for those in search of retro roadside relics. And just off the town square is the land of the Javelinas, Crystal City High School. In fact, all the schools are clustered in this wide-open space, a space that few realize holds a forgotten chapter of American history.
At first glance, if you were to walk up, and all you know is that there's a school here today and has athletic fields for the high school, and then there's a bunch of administrative and support buildings.
Military historian William McWhorter keeps a close eye on the drilling, digging, and dousing going on over at the schoolyard.
I've been working for the Texas Historical Commission for just over 6 years, and we've worked on many different projects, and a big one is called Texas in World War II. And we knew that with Texas in World War II, we had the opportunity to talk about a lot of history that has either been undertold or not told at all. In the summer of 1942, shortly after the United States had entered World War II against Japan, Germany, and Italy, the United States realized that they may have enemy aliens in the country. The Department of Justice started managing what were called confinement sites or internment camps. People of Japanese citizenry, German citizenry, Italian citizenry, they were in the United States.
The filming of the Crystal City facility, which you are about to see, shows how men, women, and children, detainees of World War II, lived.
It's the largest internment camp of its size. It was established in 1942 but ran until early 1948, almost 3 years after we were out of World War II. It was designed specifically to hold families, and it was over 500 acres in size. It's really amazing how something that touched so many lives and was such a big part of Texas in World War II, after 6.5 decades, can just disappear from the face. In 2007, we placed a historical marker to the history of the camp. You've seen them on the side of the road, those black metal historical markers.
Something's been nagging at William ever since the state historical marker installment. That this site deserved more. Everywhere you look are subtle signs of the old camp, where thousands of people were held behind the barbed wire.
It looks square. All we gotta do is make sure it's plumb.
Well, after a lot of work and research, William's team is now installing 8 interpretation panels scattered around the school ground, telling the story of Crystal City's role in the Second World War.
Unless you come here with somebody that's been here before or you're talking with someone who grew up here, you're not really going to know what the history of this camp was.
Hello, William. Yes,
How
sir.
are you,
Very
sir?
good. And
Thank
you?
you for making it.
Well, I was born in New York City, and my mother and father and I were arrested by the FBI on July 7th, 1942. Oh, my pleasure.
Good to meet you.
My pleasure. How are you?
He was held here during World War II. His name is Werner Ulrich. He is very passionate about making sure that the history of this camp is remembered.
How are you? My pleasure.
More than 6 decades after the war ended, former detainees and families gather at the camp for the dedication of this historic site.
Here's where you were first, then you were moved up to here. Many years have now passed, and while all through the years everything was kept a secret, today it's more coming out more and more out in the open.
My parents' bedroom was over here, and mine was here.
The barbed wire and guard towers are gone, but the memories come flooding back for so many people who, until today, had lost such a big part of their childhood.
Good afternoon. My name is William McWhorter, and I'm the military historian at the Texas Historical Commission. I'm always honored to be able to speak with these folks and learn a little bit more about their history. And it's a real treat that they want to talk with us because they don't have to. Although many Americans are aware of the World War II imprisonment of West Coast Japanese Americans in relocation centers, not many people are aware of the Department of Justice internment campsites such as the one we are here today.
Well, the gathering is small compared to the number of lives affected so many years ago. Most were only children then, too young to fully understand the meaning of armed guards and high fences. Lost in the chaos and the crowd, Linnell Freeman and her brother Stuart desperately searched for any information about their mother,
What was her last name?
who served as a camp nurse.
She was here a year and a half, as best we can tell. These were supposed to be the enemy, but as a nurse, that's not the way she looked at them. And then now, the more we've learned, we think she was ashamed.
I think if she was here today, she'd be proud.
We're going to go in the cars and drive to all these different places.
The power of memory is really impressive because you can read all the primary documents on a subject, but when you actually speak to someone who's lived it and they talk about it and you see the emotion on their face, then you can really get that first-person perspective that adds an extra layer to a story.
Yeah, this is where we all played.
They're trying to touch a physical place, some sort of window to the past, if you will, where they can see what their family experienced.
Oh, and that flag was there. That flagpole was there. We all suffered the same experience. We were to leave this camp, never ever to tell anyone. It was to be kept a secret.
For many released after the war, some buried the memories, and with it, the history of this camp. Now, more than 60 years later, William McWhorter has succeeded in bringing honor to a place most folks just wanted to forget.
I get so emotional that I didn't ask her enough. But then I'm so proud of her that I find it's in my trunk. She had the scrapbooks. She kept it all for us, but she just didn't want to talk about it.
It's wonderful to know that it has not been forgotten.
What I would say to William is thank you very much for taking time out and working with us to help us bring all of the history of this camp to light so that everyone gets to know about it.